Hey everybody, what's up? Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kelly Barrett here on Etcetera Live on the Vibe. Beyond thrilled today to have my guest, Canadian icon, singer, songwriter, three-time Juno Award winner, Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame inductee, Nick Gilder is in the house. Nick,
hi Kelly, how are you today?
how are you? I'm good now.
This is great. I'm glad we're doing this today.
I am so thrilled to have you on, Nick. I've just been excited, as the viewers have been for some time now. So I can't thank you enough for joining us today. We have so much to talk about. You have a hugely successful career spanning over 46 years, but I'm going to start off with a very relevant, very important $1 million question.
Yeah, sure.
Was there a real Roxy? Was she a frequent roller? And what was up with the bubblegum on the knees? Is that a real person?
Many people have asked what the story of Roxy is. I didn't actually hear the first question. What was the very first question there?
Was there a real Roxy?
Well, yeah, where I used to live in Burnaby, there was a Roxy theater at one time, and there was a young lady that worked they used to have what they called ushers. Do you know what an usher is?
An usher, yes.
Yeah, it would someone that would show someone to their seats
right
in the movie theater, and so it was a story really about that young lady that worked at a movie theater, and she thought she wasn't treated well. And ultimately joined a syndicate. So it was, that was her sense of sort of freedom and realization of who she was as a person, and so that's really what the story was all about. I did a sequel years later, which was I shouldn't have done. But the original story was just fine left alone, because in the sequel, she goes on to become a movie star.
Oh, we love that, though. We love that.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah,
she kind of deserved it.
She did. So it was about equality for women. Ultimately, I suppose it was. Which I thought was in those days not the poignant issue that it is these days. So it was
for sure
possibly way ahead of its time.
That's a great story, Nick. That's a great story because, truthfully, I kind of had a sense, just because it's something I'd heard before.
This is a song, though. It definitely is. I think every band in Canada has played that song at one time or another in some configuration of a band. It's like whenever you wanted, back in the day, if you wanted to get people up on the dance floor, you would play Roxy Roller, and you know what? It's still the same.
It still is, Nick, and I can testify to that because I played in a band for 23 some years, and we sang Roxy Roller. I actually sang it because it's such a high song.
Really?
I sang it because I was the girl because not a lot of men have that high voice like you do. And I will agree with you 100%. If things were lulling in the bar, you could play Roxy Roller, and immediately the dance floor would pack. Yeah, immediately.
Yeah. Before Roxy was a hit, the song that would get people up on the dance floor was "Smoke on the Water."
Right.
And
we used to call it slow motion, Walter.
Yeah. Oh, you've done that one too. Okay.
We've done that one too.
Okay. So you're in a band, Kelly. Awesome.
Yeah, I was in a band I went on the road when I was 18 years old, and we stayed on the road indefinitely for 23 years. Literally no fixed address. And they were the best days of my life. Best days of my life.
Yeah. I miss it. I really miss it. And I just
can't
believe
we were just talking before the show, Nick, and hopefully that's going to come back, sooner rather than later with the vaccinations coming out. And so in the meantime, though, what have you been doing to keep busy during this strange, I call it, for the last year?
Oh, it's mostly doing a bit of songwriting, I think, gardening, watching movies, a lot of movies. I think we've done Netflix and Prime, the entire
Me too.
It's like, is there any other movie channels out there somewhere, right? So yeah, shopping once in a while with like 4 masks on, I mean, it's just, you wonder what level of concern you're supposed to have after a while, I guess, but
It's confusing. It's
all being
confusing.
well,
Yeah.
Kelly, all being well, we may well be doing a show at Pigeon Lake.
Oh,
It's looking good, actually, to do this show.
so
at
when would
Pigeon
that
Lake.
be, Nick?
That's interestingly 2 months from today.
Is that right? Hey?
July 30th, which is we're headlining a Friday night.
That's amazing. Where can people get tickets for that, Nick? Or where can they look to find out if in fact that is happening and how they go about getting there?
I think it's their 3rd year. It's like online. If you go to their site, Pigeon Lake Festival, if you Google it,
Okay.
it comes up and there's tickets. I think there's probably still some tickets because it is a postponed show. So
Right.
it's whoever had tickets still holds those tickets, and I think they sold more. So
Nice.
it's very exciting, the thought that might actually happen.
That's
I'd go down, I'd start to work on a song, and I'd think, oh, it's confrontational. It's really confrontational because the best part of this truly becomes the live performance, and being able to just sing those songs. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Getting back up.
And I am too now. And Nick, as I'm speaking to you and I hear your voice, I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying not to be a dorky fan, and I'm trying to be like a professional music correspondent here, but I have been in love with that voice of yours forever. You were the first singer, I just have to say this, you were the first singer I ever heard, with that high falsetto voice that I just fell in love with it. And I was listening to my older sister's album, and I said, who is this? And then she said it was a guy, and it was Nick Gilder. And I thought, that's a guy, that makes it even more amazing. And I just started to fall in love with one of those. Do you have a signature voice, what I would call a signature voice? Yes, like Eddie Lee or Perry?
I actually have what you could call a kind of a variety of voices, I think is fair to say. Mm-hmm. And your voice kind of thickens over the years a bit, but back in the day, I used to fool around with my voice, and I did that voice, and everybody went, oh, do that. That will really get attention. And it sure did. It really, really did.
Sure did.
There's a.
So I'm wondering, Nick,
I've got a high voice. You should hear the guy in Greta Van Fleet. I mean, it's just like, how is that even humanly possible? And it's not falsetto, Kelly, by the way. It was actually full voice.
Is that right?
And I can still sing the song. I can still sing the songs and hit the notes, They sound a little different just because your voice over the years thickens. It gets thicker.
Sure.
I don't know if that's experience or just you push harder. You push harder, I think, as the years go by, and that changes it a bit. But I try to, as much as possible, recreate the essence of it,
Right.
And it seems to work. We've been having just, I don't know how many years now of just honestly a joyful experiences with people. And when you hear people sing your song, it's just, I don't know if there's a better feeling.
And Nick, it transcends. That song has transcended generations. And actually, I was getting ready for the show today, and I always have my local radio station on because they basically play my whole entire guest list. And Roxy Roller came on, ironically, and my friend of mine was here talking to her daughter, who was maybe in her 20s. And she said, she says, oh, Kelly's having Nick Gilder on today. And she said, I love him. I love Roxy Roller. People that are 20, people that are our age, everybody knows music, and that's got to feel fantastic, hey, to transcend generations like that and have that kind of longevity. Wow.
Have you ever sung Hot Child in the City?
I have not.
You have not? Okay. What about The Warrior? The Warrior?
I did sing The Warrior, and I know, and that was coming up on one of my questions because you co-wrote that with Holly Knight for Patty Smith of Scandal.
Yes, that's right. We do that in the set. And it's another one of those sing-along songs, they all become sing-along songs after a while. And that's sure fun to do,
Absolutely. And that song became a top 10 US hit, and it also earned you a BMI Airplay Award.
wow, you've done your homework.
Yeah. Oh, I'm a homework kind of girl. It's part of what I love.
I keep thinking I'm going to do my own version of it, just to have it, and do a sort of a greatest hits, another greatest hits kind of package with the Warrior in it as well. I remember when I got together with Holly, I had this idea for a chorus, and I sang it to her. I sang the chorus to her, and she's actually a keyboard player, believe it or not. Oh. So she started playing the chords on the piano, and I sang the chorus, and from there, I think it was written in like the first day, the essence of the song, and I went home and finished up the lyrics, and wow, we played it for Mike Chapman, who is he's truly one of the biggest producers in the world. He produced, Blondie and Pat Benatar, her early stuff, some of it. And just so many people in England, including Sweet and Smokey, Mud. I think he did a little bit with Susie Quattro years ago. Just like an incredible number of artists that he produced. And he heard it and said, wow, you guys, I think you guys got a hit record on your hands. And I was originally going to record it myself, and I had seen, I went to see Roy Thomas Baker, who was at that time, and he was for the whole duration of Queen's career, their producer, the guy that produced Queen. And he said, Nick, that's a hit song. I want to produce that with you. I was very excited. But Mike, who'd already produced Hot Child in the City, called me up and said, Nick, he said, we really, really need a hit for Patti Smythe. And he convinced me to let it go. And I did. I let it go. But, I think the reason I let it go was because he convinced me how it just had a very different meaning with Patti singing it, and I gotta say, and he said, I promise you, and these are promises that you should never make, I'll make this a huge hit record. Well, he did, he really did. He delivered on it, and she sang it really, really great. And part of the thing about it was she did it in a bit higher key where the guitar's like a step up. I think it was actually a step and a half. And so the guitar chords are ring open. They're full triad chords, and we did it in B. And when it translates to guitar, it's like roots and fifths. And it really sounds a bit different. It's thicker and heavier, but it just sounded perfect for the radio the way I thought Scandal did it. And it's a phenomenal record, I gotta say. It really is. Every time I hear it on the radio, I think, wow, that was really good.
Right. And, I think it would be genius if you re-recorded it, because one of my questions were, and I'll ask it to you now, just in light of what you just said, Nick, have you ever written a song for somebody and then kind of wish that you'd kept it for yourself?
Well, that one.
That's what made me think of the question.
Well, that was a game changer,
For sure.
And, I say that, but when we do it live, it's like you think, would there be any bigger response, if anybody was doing it, right? So, it's just really fun to write hit songs. That's really the bottom line, I think. I've written,
and you've written a lot of hit songs, Nick. Like, you have written songs, and some people might not know this, but you've written songs for Bette Midler and Joe Cocker and Pat Benatar.
Joe Cocker and Tony Basil, who is really a phenomenal talent. Tony Basil. Bette said that she'd gone through 3,000 songs before she found, I thought that was really funny. Before she found a song called "Is It Love" that Jim and I wrote for her. Joe Cocker, wow. I mean, I still think about that. Joe was just amazing, right? Like he was really the greatest rock R&B kind of singer guy, right? And he covered one of the songs called "It's Gonna Hurt" on his comeback record. Actually, Beth's was a comeback record as well, which is pretty amazing. And the movie things really help too, right? Like there's been some songs that have shown up in movies. And
Youngblood with Rob Lowe, and The Wraith with Charlie Sheen, Barbed Wire with Pamela Anderson, and one of my favorite shows, Sex and the City. And Sex and the City in that 70s. Oh, cool.
Yeah. That was the pop.
I love those shows.
Hot Child
Pop culture.
Where they were smoking marijuana at the end of the show, right? And they had the money and were eating popcorn.
They're in the circle, right? They're in the circle.
Popcorn, I thought, yeah, that's funny. Okay.
And you actually had a cameo in a movie too, Nick. I just want to slide this in. So from Scenes in the Gold Mine, you had a cameo appearance. What was that like?
It was my first experience. I was far too nervous. I think we were in I was playing the part of a producer or an engineer or something, I think, in the movie. And I had this cameo appearance. And no, I wasn't the producer. I can't remember what I was. I was just sitting in a chair and I had a couple lines, and it was like, we did it a few times. And I thought, wow, how do these guys do this? On and on and on and on and on, But it's fun to do that. Rick Springfield turned that into kind of two careers,
For sure.
I met Rick, nice guy. He did a movie with Meryl Streep, I think. It was quite a big hit. Ricky and the Flash. Did you ever see that?
With Meryl Streep. I did see that. That was a great movie. It
was good. And he had one. We were managed by the same guy for a while. And we were actually on the same label for a while. So I saw Rick at the company parties, and hey, Rick, how you doing, man? And, that's a phenomenal show. If you get a chance, you should go see it. It really is a good show. I was surprised how rock that show is. Like it really rocks hard.
Yeah. So I saw it when it came out, and Nick, I think you are the only person, speaking of appearances, I think you're the only guest person I've ever met that has actually been a guest on American Bandstand with Dick Clark.
Twice.
So I saw the one in 1979. What was that like?
I think I was dumbfounded because he was such a legend, that I was like, he was the calmest, easiest going guy. And I think that's the part of it that I will always remember about him is he was just so kind of made you feel so comfortable, like I was getting my makeup done and he came in and he said, he said to the makeup girl, he said, don't do too much makeup. He said, he don't need it.
Oh, what a compliment.
And he said, Nick, he said, you don't look up at the camera. Don't look up at the camera. You should always just stay straight ahead. And I was there for Hot Child in the city. And then there was the RCA record. And Dick had us back on. I was doing Footsteps, I think it was.
Nice.
I think we did Footsteps for Dick, which was, wow, another great experience,
Oh, right. That's one for the book, Nick. I watched the 1979 one, and I love, like you're talking about how Dick was just this great guy. He was so charming, and he was so, I could see where he would put people at ease, because at one point during the interview, he asks you, so how do you write? Like, how do you pump out an album when you're on the road? And you say, well, I write on the road. And he says to you, you lie. You stand here and look me straight in the face and lie, because he just couldn't believe, he was complimenting you. He couldn't believe that you wrote on the road, but you did. You had to write a lot of your songs while touring.
We did do some writing on the road. And gosh, I can't remember any specific song that actually made it to tape, but you know, when you're writing, it's the whole process is part of the you know, everything that you're doing becomes part of what you're writing, you know, the overall experience of it all. And
Right.
the road is just the greatest source of material. And you find yourself writing that same road song a lot, you know. But yeah, I really enjoyed Dick, but I've met and had, you know, other experience with really
I
famous
bet.
people, like Bob Hope. I don't know if you know who Bob
Wow.
Hope is.
Of course I do. Yeah.
I think maybe the greatest experience with fame, maybe the most literally famous producer of all time, George Martin, who produced the Beatles. We actually worked together in the studio. And if I told you what it was, you'd probably scarce believe me, but it's the truth, I swear. We did a
I believe
remix.
you.
We did a remix together of Roxy Roller down in Los Angeles with session players, the biggest session players that there was in LA. We did some overdubs. And when it was all done, after all that, I remember doing this like 10-part harmony thing that was just amazing, you know, sounding. George and I, we sat and we listened to it, and then we listened to the original. And George says, wow, he said, you know, Nick, honestly, I think I prefer the original.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God, oh well. You know, it was a great record. You know, it really, really was a great record, you know. He said the reason being is that it contains the essence of what the Beatles became famous for, and that's uniqueness. And he said,
Right.
I think we tried to make it slick when it's not a slick song. It was never meant to be a slick song. It was meant to
Right.
be groundbreaking. And it was. So I took that as an extreme compliment, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And just to have the fondest memory of having worked with the biggest producer of all time, literally, you know. Wow.
Yeah, literally. It doesn't get bigger than that. It really does not get bigger than that. Is there ever a time, Nick, when all this is happening where, like, do you remember where you were the first time you heard Roxy Roll on the radio? And do you remember what was it like when, at that moment when you realized that this is going to be something amazing and huge?
You know, I actually, I remember the very first time I heard myself on the radio. And it wasn't Roxy Roller. It was here in Vancouver. And it was the very first release off of the Sweeney Todd record, which was a song called Sweeney Todd Folder, which was in its own way really truly unique as well, you know, but not like Roxy Roller was. And it got some play. And I was on my way to rehearsal or something with Jim. And we pulled over, you know, like we pulled over to have a listen. It was like, oh, wow, that is so great. And it's a moment, it's indelible, right? I mean, that's the one I remember. The very first time I heard myself on the radio, it was like, wow. Because once Roxy hit the air, Kelly, it was unbelievable how much airplay that got. Like it was every day, I don't know how many times a day. And here in Vancouver, I swear, it was the top request every single night for an entire summer.
I bet.
Wow. I still play it on the radio, you know, driving along, I still hear it on the radio, and it's a great feeling.
Yeah. It was on our local radio station this morning. It was on 94.1 on our radio station. Cool. I hear it a couple of times a week, and they play Hot Child in the City. Oh, and right. I always love Here Comes the Night. I love Here Comes the Night. That's one of my favorites.
Oh, well, thanks. Yeah. A lot of people thought that would be at least as big a hit as Hot Child in the City. I think it had something about it that was kind of catchy, you know, kind of catchy and neat. But I don't know. I think Hot Child.
It was sexy. To me, it was just a sultry summer song. And I love it. I still listen to it. It's on my playlist. And, because you're originally from England and you
Yes.
came over to Canada, uh,
Yes.
even though you came to Canada and that's where your career blossomed and formed, did you have a lot of strong like British influences?
Oh, wow. Oh, I would say, all the British bands, really. I think I was with my ex-wife um, on an air base in a place called Lakenheath, and Led Zeppelin came on the jukebox, and I think it was at that moment that I thought I really wanted to be involved in rock music. That it was Whole Lot of Love. Was like the release, and hearing that was life changing. I guess I think it's fair to say. I was just like it just stuck with me for days, thinking, "Wow, that is so visceral and raw." And then somebody asked me, I don't even know why. Do you sing? Our band needs a singer. I was out at a pub somewhere, and I said, "Yeah, sure." I'd never done any singing, but I thought I'll have a go. And that worked out for a little while, and then
You worked out quite well.
yeah. Moved to Vancouver from there, and I was doing a battle of the bands, and my writing part, the guy that became my writing partner, saw me and said, "We have we have a professional band and we need a singer, and we can get gigs, real gigs." So I said, "Well, I'll give it a go," And that was Sweeney. That was actually a group called Rasputin that became Sweeney Todd. And it turns out Ron Tabak was the singer I replaced in that band.
Oh, wow.
I didn't find that out until I don't know how many years later. Nobody ever told me, "Oh, you're replacing Ron Tabak," who later joined Prism, as you know. And
Right.
wow, huh?
Yeah.
World. It must be. There's a story.
Maybe better not to know sometimes who we're replacing, I think.
There's connections
I
here.
don't know if I'd want to know. Yeah.
There's connections here that are weird. And Al,
Nick, we're getting some comments here, so I just want to address some of those. So Brent Cutforth, who is the Vibe Station manager, is saying, "Excellent interview. He's grateful and super happy that you're on the show." Marlene Lynch, who always is a great supporter of the show, says she has some shopping to do, but she's listening while she's shopping. Eva Smith, who is another super great supporter of Canadian music in general and this show, says, "We love your voice, Nick." Tim Carr says, "I was a fan when Nick came out with Hot Child in the City and still a fan." And it just goes on and on. My good friend, I'm sure is your good friend too, Mark Gladstone, is saying, "Rock on, Nick, see you soon."
Cool. We've done many shows with Prism. Mark is the keyboard player in Prism.
Yes, he is. Yeah, good friend of mine. Great band.
Yeah, really good. Al and I go way back, like the Sweeney days. I met Al before he was in Prism. I think I met Al years before that. Yeah,
he's a great guy. He's on the show.
Oh,
he was on the show a couple of months back, and super great guy.
yeah.
Nick, I have a question for you about your songwriting. What does your songwriting process look like? And I know James McCullough was your songwriter partner. Is he still your songwriting partner?
Isn't that weird? We wrote hit songs together, but people, their lives change. We still talk often, actually. Jim lives up in the interior of British Columbia. And he just sort of decided that he wanted to do his own thing. You know what I mean? I mean, to me, it was like we were always partners, in this thing. But Jim, I guess, he just really wanted to sort of present something that he thought was his entirely, and thought that if we collaborated on something, he was just in the background. And I kept trying to say, and I continue to say to Jim, no, man, it's the songs ultimately, and I'm the front man, but without the songs, we got nothing. Without
Yeah,
the
that's
song,
true.
it's a non-starter without the song. It'll always be that way, because that's it. It's that connection that you make, right?
Right, for sure.
Jim
Is there
has
a difference, Nick, between? Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, I was just gonna. There's a bit of a delay here. I was just gonna ask: is as far as the songwriting process goes, do you find that there's a difference when you're writing a song for yourself as opposed to writing for a song for, say, Bette Midler, or is it a different process? Is one more pressure than the other? I would think it would be a lot of pressure writing a song for Bette Midler or Joe Cocker
To be
or Pat
honest with
Benatar.
you, I think almost entirely the songs were just entities unto themselves that happened to find their way to the artist. And that's the skill of a publishing person who can see that a song would be perfect for someone, because I can't honestly think of like honestly deliberately writing songs for anybody in particular. It's always been, so and so wants to do your song, and me thinking, oh, well, that's great. I mean, to sit down and write specifically for someone is more subjective than objective, probably, right?
For sure.
So, I mean, in later years, I think I have worked with people who brought stuff and we worked on it together, but it was more for them kind of thing.
Right.
But really, to sort of to find something unique, you just stick to whatever it is that you do as a writer, right? And then somebody else sees it and thinks, I can identify with that and deliver it, So yeah, that's that.
Great. So with Hot Child in the City, Nick, what's the backstory behind that song? Where did the inspiration for that? Because that's another favorite.
There's a bit of an interesting sense of humor about that song, right? I was in LA, the city of angels, and I thought,
Right.
Hot child in the city. When I'd see, young people that really flock to LA, especially at this time, to become a star of one description or another.
Right.
And it's full of incredible stories of people's lives, people that just were taken advantage of, people that made it, people that decided to go home, but they grabbed life and were trying to find themselves and their way, And that was the essence of what really Hot Child was all about, was that stroll along Hollywood Boulevard, Sunset Boulevard, and seeing the would-bes, maybe will-bes, you know what I mean? And it was a really furtive time. And that city is a big city. There's like 11 million people live there. And boy, there's a lot of stories, But
they all want to be stars.
Ultimately, yeah. Ultimately, I thought Hot Child in the City is truly a metaphor for everybody. It's not about kids. It only in the sense that we're all kids, We always will be, because there's always something to learn. There's always some new experience to benefit from. And we're growing. And it's like some part of it is like grow up, and so I think that, Hot Child is really another really interesting song, I think, from that point of view. And I like the way that Jim and I somehow managed to encapsulate the songs in vehicles that were really sexy, because life is sexy, you know, and those songs are, you know. So
they sure are.
Yeah.
Well, if I can say this, and they are sexy songs, but again, for me and a lot of people that I know, the voice was sexy too, because there is something about that high voice on a man that women respond to. And so it was, sexy lyrics but tastefully sexy. That's what I love about them, is they were subtly and tastefully sexy, as opposed to lewd or.
Thank you. It was
Yes.
Back in the 70s, it was all brand new, you know. And at that time, when we first started out, it was very much a kind of glitter glam thing. We quickly evolved into just like all wearing white on stage because it looks so great in the lights.
It does, yeah.
But the crowd, there was a lot of women, a lot of girls, a lot of young women.
I bet.
I think that we were young and strong, and it was an amazing. I'm amazed I can actually remember still a lot of that, because there was some wild times, I got to tell you, Kelly.
I'm sure.
I'm still trying to I still wonder how I got home some nights. I get up in the morning now at times that, I used to go to bed at.
Right.
And I can still remember some of those. Wow, we would work 7 nights a week sometimes, Kelly. Wow, just thinking back, you're taking me back, Kelly. You're taking me back.
Yeah. Like, how do we do it? How did we do it back and do it every night?
I don't know. We did 6 nights in Vancouver, and then we'd go over to Bellingham or Blaine, I think it was. Point Roberts, that's it. We'd go over to Point Roberts and play a Sunday in Point Roberts, and it was tiring. I had to go see a throat guy there, I think, for a while. He said, the only thing that's going to help you here, Nick, is don't sing quite so much. We'd do like 4 sets when we first started, but we got through it. I got through it, and I'm here, and that's the best part for me is that
you're here and you're still going. And I love something you just said a minute ago, Nick, when you were talking about how we're children and we remain children, and we're constantly learning. I was having a conversation last week about that with Greg Godovitz, actually, and what I love. So all these Canadian artists that came out the 70s, 80s, and 90s, I don't know if that's ever going to replicate itself, because there's the bands like yourself and others that came out during that era that launched these amazing careers that people still want to see. They're still loved. They're still doing their thing. And I don't know if that will ever happen again. And I like to think it might, but I'm not sure. But what I love about you, and it was the same thing that we were discussing, is that it doesn't have to end at a certain point. Just because you can't tour on the road 360 days a year doesn't mean that's the end of it, because you're here now. And I think it's that continuation of doing what you love that keeps you young and vibrant. And
I think, there is some new bands, though, that honestly are worthy of note and attention.
For sure.
Greta Van Fleet is remarkable. The Struts out of England.
I love the Struts.
Bands I think they're kind of spearheading or carrying the flag of classic rock, and they're really good. They're really worth a listen. And gosh, that guy in Greta Van Fleet's voice he hits notes that I didn't even know existed. It's so odd.
Right.
The guy in the Struts.
That's a compliment coming from Nick Gilder. That's a huge compliment. Yeah. You're right, Nick. There are a lot of fantastic new bands coming out, and thank God that there are, because we need a generation to carry on Canadian iconic music and music in general. Do you have any advice for those people that are just kind of trying to make a go of this, Nick?
Wow. Well, it's hard to give advice coming out of a pandemic, right? It's hard for established bands to get gigs right. It's going to be for a little while. But once that's all over and we're back to normal, just, just believe in yourself, I guess, and stick to your beliefs in your music, and try to present something that's unique, something different. Don't do the same
Right.
as everybody else. It's ultimately, that's not what defines an artist, right?
Right. Agreed. And so,
Yeah.
Nick, what advice would you, if you could have it to do over, what advice would you give yourself? What advice, if you could, would you give, say, the 18-year-old Nick Gilder, knowing what you know now?
Oh, geez, that's a good question. I keep seeing these movies that show kind of time travel and stuff, where the guy goes back and he tries to repair or change or adjust something so that he gets a different outcome for whatever reason. You know what I mean?
Right.
But ultimately, you can't. I don't know. I think I think if I did anything, it would be a health thing, and just try to take better care of myself.
Right.
And don't indulge too much in anything at all. It would probably be the best advice to give myself. Wow.
I would agree with that one, Nick. I would be one of the ones that I would tell myself, 23 years on the road, I wish I had said no to the partying a little more. Because I think, I don't know, I think it's so easy to get caught up in that, when you're a bar band, and it's just expected of you. It's expected of you to drink with the people and all that. And I wish I would have maybe taken music a little more seriously. And I agree with you on that one, is what I'm trying to say.
We were obsessed, I think, in all fairness. I think it was the center of our world at the time. But the times allowed it. I'm not sure that the times allow that anymore. Life is
it's a different world.
Much more complicated, our world now, right?
Right.
So it was a great time, and I'm sure glad that I got to experience that timeline, this time.
Agreed. I agree.
Yeah. And I'm glad to be alive, and relatively healthy. That's that's
we lived through it. We lived through it slightly unscathed, and you look great. You look amazing. You look healthy. You look, it's amazing that all of us don't look 50 years older than we are, giving the life we led.
Yeah, really.
Nick, we have a couple of comments coming here. I just want to acknowledge. Alfie Galpin, of course, from the Headpins, is saying, "Hey, Kelly and Nick. Barry Samuels, really enjoying this. Steve Matheson, great interview. Keep on rocking, Nick. We love you." Frank Zoka says, "Good questions, Kelly. We get to hear the true perspectives of our rock legends. Thank you, Nick." So a lot of people really enjoying the show today.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Alfie is from the Headpins. Hi, Alfie.
He sure is. Hi, Alfie.
Great band. Great rocking band.
Great band. So what are you listening to? I'm just curious, what are you listening to these days, Nick, yourself?
Well, that was it. The two bands I mentioned. Really, that's
the Struts are great.
I go on YouTube, and I'll put on a new Greta Van Fleet or a Struts song and check it out. The guy in the Struts sounds like Freddie Mercury. I mean, so it's Absolutely. A natural for me to be impressed, right? Like, he's really good.
Right. Who wouldn't be, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm gonna, when I got more inclination, I've been trying to finish some things up. I'm going to be doing a virtual Canada Day show for Surrey out here.
Oh, nice.
And, I'm really looking forward to maybe even getting a Canada Day show in the near future that's like in person,
Right.
So,
well, you never know. I mean, the Calgary Stampede is on. Maybe Lethbridge. I think that's a fantastic idea, Nick Gilder.
So do I.
You come to Lethbridge, and you can come over. I'll make you dinner. Bring the wife, bring the band. We'll hang, we'll chill. We'll talk.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, Nick, it's just been delightful talking to you. And I just can't thank you enough for taking time out of your day. And I got to say this on behalf of everybody. Thank you for the music, because I can truly legitimately say that your songs, a lot of your songs were and still are the soundtrack to our lives. That's how I see it.
Well, thank you.
And absolutely. And we're so proud to call you Canadian. We're proud that you're one of us.
Yep.
And
I'm proud to
and
be.
can I ask you, aren't you, like, is it the Canadian music scene is just amazing? And Nick, if you do get that show together, let me know. If you get the Canada Day virtual, anything at all, let me know and I'll share it. And because it would be great to hear.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. That's gonna happen.
Well, let me know and we'll tune everyone in.
Okay. Thanks, Kelly.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful
Take
hostess.
care.
You're a wonderful hostess. Thank you, Kelly, for making me feel
Thank
great.
you so much. I appreciate that. Take care, Nick.
You as well.
Thank you so much for tuning, everybody. Thank you, Nick. What a great interview. What a great guy. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next week. Until we see you then, stay safe and sane. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.
And you as well. Thank you, Kelly. Thanks. Bye, dear.
Bye-bye, Nick. Take care.